Have you ever stopped to truly consider if technology, with all its instant access and infinite possibilities, is actually fueling our curiosity? Or is it perhaps quietly, subtly, kind of eroding that fundamental drive within us? On today's deep dive, we're plunging headfirst into that fascinating, complex paradox, the intricate relationship between technology and our innate human urge to explore and learn.
It's a profound question, isn't it? Because, yeah, on one hand, the digital age offers this unprecedented access to information. It seems like it should empower us,
Mhm.
right? Helping us ask better questions, push the boundaries of what's known. You can look up anything, anywhere, you know?
Silly. Right.
Right. So at the speed of thought almost. But then yeah, there's the flip side of that coin. The endless distraction, the sheer volume of information that can just lead to overload and maybe a kind of superficial engagement that might actually be stifling the very genuine deep curiosity we think we're fostering.
Exactly. That's the tension we're diving into. Like you said, one minute you're mindlessly scrolling through cat videos or whatever, and the next you're virtually walking on the surface of Mars, which is amazing. But here's the crucial question, right? Does this unparalleled access truly empower us to ask better questions? Or does it leave us perpetually distracted, just adrift in a sea of information without a compass?
Lost in the noise.
Yeah, so we're going to unpack all sides of this debate. We'll look at how advanced tech like AI, VR, robotics, how they've completely transformed how we explore our world, the universe. And critically, we'll confront those arguments that suggest we might be, losing the art of true self-driven inquiry.
So yeah, settle in, maybe grab your headphones, put on your metaphorical curiosity caps, because this one's going to make you think.
Yeah.
We want you to consider how you navigate this vast digital landscape, and maybe whether you're nurturing or accidentally hindering that intrinsic human drive to discover. It's about trying to understand the subtle but really powerful mechanisms at play in our digital lives.
Well, let's not wait another moment. Let's unpack this. Okay, so before we get too deep into the tech side of things, let's just lay a foundation. What exactly is curiosity? Beyond just vaguely wanting to know something, it
Yeah.
feels deeper than that, more primal.
You're absolutely right. It is. At its core, researchers define curiosity as a complex feeling and cognition that accompanies a desire to learn what is unknown. Think about that almost restless feeling. Sometimes it's even pleasurable, right? When you know there's a piece of information missing.
Yeah, like an itch you need to scratch.
Exactly. Or that sheer intellectual joy when a really complex idea finally clicks into place. That's what's known as an epistemic emotion. It's an emotion specifically tied to knowledge and understanding. It's really the engine, the fuel for our quest to understand the world around us. Without this inherent drive, frankly, human progress as we know it just wouldn't exist.
That sounds absolutely fundamental then. Is it something that's just hardwired into us? Or is it more of a trait we develop?
From an evolutionary perspective, it's very much seen as an adaptive trait. Yeah, it's been described as a raw appetite for information. Historically, that appetite was absolutely crucial for our survival.
Okay, how so?
Well, just imagine our early ancestors, right? Those individuals who were more curious, who ventured beyond the familiar campfire, who learned about new potential food sources, or maybe identified potential dangers in unexplored territories. They were just far more likely to survive, to adapt, and critically to pass on their genes. So that deep-seated drive to explore and learn is in many ways kind of etched into our DNA. It wasn't just a nice to have, it was a survival imperative.
And its impact clearly goes way beyond just, surviving in the wild, right? I mean, we see curiosity praised everywhere now. Science, business, art.
Oh, without a doubt. Curiosity is unequivocally critical for human growth, for learning, for igniting creativity, and for driving societal progress as a whole. Modern studies, they consistently show the strong correlation between high levels of curiosity and, well, high performance in diverse fields. Also, significantly fewer judgment errors, which is interesting.
Fewer errors. How does that work?
Well, the idea is that curious people are less likely to rely on assumptions or stereotypes. They dig deeper, they ask more questions, they consider alternatives before jumping to conclusions. It leads to demonstrably better innovation, greater adaptability too, whether you're talking about dynamic business environments or progressive education. It's that relentless impulse that pushes boundaries and challenges the status quo. It turns vague ideas into actual groundbreaking discoveries.
Okay, that makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
But this brings up an interesting point. Is all curiosity created equal, or are there different flavors of this powerful raw appetite for information we should maybe know about?
That's a truly crucial distinction, and it's one that recent psychological neuroscientific research has really shed light on. We often talk about curiosity like it's just one thing, but it's definitely more nuanced. There seem to be two distinct faces, broadly speaking: interest curiosity and deprivation curiosity. And understanding the difference is really key because they have very distinct benefits and surprisingly very different drawbacks too.
Okay, two types. Let's dig into interest curiosity first. What does that look and feel like?
So interest curiosity is mainly driven by the emotion of interest itself. Pretty straightforward, right? It's deeply connected with liking information. And importantly, the anticipation of pleasure you get from the mere act of searching and learning new things.
Okay, so it's more about the enjoyment of the process.
Exactly. Think of it as less urgent, more carefree, almost a joyful kind of exploration. You're not necessarily trying to solve an immediate, pressing problem. You're just enjoying the journey of discovery, the way new ideas unfold, simply because they pique your interest. It's the intrinsic reward of learning itself.
So like maybe just browsing Wikipedia for fun. You start on one topic, fall down some fascinating rabbit hole because one link leads to another, and you're just enjoying the ride with no specific goal in mind.
Precisely. That's a perfect example.
Yeah.
You're fueled by the sheer delight of making new connections. And this type of curiosity, it's positively associated with a whole suite of benefits: higher overall happiness, increased confidence in problem solving, greater open-mindedness, and significantly enhanced empathic listening skills, which is interesting.
Better listening, because you're genuinely interested in what the other person knows.
That seems to be the connection, yeah. But here's where it gets really intriguing and maybe a bit counterintuitive: its relationship with common pitfalls. Surprisingly, interest curiosity is negatively associated with both distractibility and indecisiveness.
Wait, negatively? So more interest curiosity means less distraction and indecision? That seems backward.
I know, right? It suggests that the more you experience this relaxed liking type of curiosity, the less prone you are to those common issues we often link with information seeking today. It actually seems to help you focus and decide more effectively, almost like a natural antidote to information overload.
Wow, that's a radical idea. The joy of just exploring, this interest curiosity, actually sharpens your focus. It acts as a buffer against the very distractions tech often throws at us.
Yeah.
That's fascinating. Okay, so that's interest curiosity, the liking kind. What about the other one? Deprivation curiosity. What's driving that?
Deprivation curiosity is, well, like the name suggests, a different beast entirely. It's driven by uncertainty, by a distinct need for information. It's that uncomfortable, almost nagging realization that you have a specific knowledge deficit, an information gap, as researchers call it.
Okay, so it feels bad, not good like the other one.
Yeah, it's conceptualized as an aversive state. That uncomfortable itch of not knowing, almost a nagging feeling. It can be fueled by negative emotions like doubt, frustration, even kind of intellectual unease. The search for information here is intense, it's urgent, and it's really singularly focused on closing that specific gap. The discomfort is the main motivator.
Okay, so if interest curiosity is browsing for pleasure, deprivation curiosity is like frantically searching for something specific because you have to know it. Like, I can't believe I don't know the answer to this and it's really bothering me.
Exactly, or maybe I need to figure out precisely how this complex system works right now to fix this urgent problem. In terms of benefits, it is also positively associated with empathic listening skills, which is interesting, a shared trait. Maybe because both involve seeking understanding from others.
Possibly.
But on the
Fair.
drawback side, it's positively associated with indecisiveness.
Ah, okay, so the urgency makes you freeze up sometimes.
It seems so. That urgency to close the gap can sometimes lead to analysis paralysis. The discomfort of the unknown might make you overthink, or maybe the perceived stakes just feel higher. You're so focused on getting the answer that the process itself can become stressful.
That really paints a much clearer picture. It's definitely not just curious or not curious, much more complex. Now, it seems like little kids are the absolute epitome of pure, unfiltered curiosity, right? They ask why constantly, no filter. What happens to that incredible drive as we get older? Does it just fade?
You've hit on a universal truth there. Children are naturally relentlessly curious. It's amazing to watch. Around age 2 or 3, as their prefrontal cortex develops, that's the part of the brain handling planning complex stuff, and their language skills explode. They just start asking why incessantly. They begin to grasp causality, that things happen for a reason. And they're driven by this insatiable need to figure out the rules of the world around them. They literally never stop asking questions, pushing boundaries.
Yeah, my nephew's in that phase. It's exhausting, but amazing too.
Yeah.
But then we grow up and, yeah, it seems to fade, doesn't it? Is it societal conditioning that kind of stamps it out of us, or do we just naturally become less curious?
Unfortunately, it's often a complex mix of both, but yeah, societal conditioning plays a massive role. This innate, boundless curiosity can be significantly suppressed, often unintentionally, as we get older. Think about it. Parents, totally exhausted by the relentless questioning, and let's be honest, sometimes we just don't know the answer, might fall back on the classic, because I said so.
Oh, yeah. Heard that one a few times.
Or they might just limit the number of questions allowed. Then you get to schools. Schools are often designed for efficiency, for standardized tests. They tend to prioritize rote learning and obedience over open-ended discovery and inquiry. The very structure of many educational systems can inadvertently quash that exploratory drive. Compliance often gets valued over creativity.
I can absolutely relate to that.
I
I vividly remember, I think it was third grade, getting sent to run laps around the field. Why? For asking too many questions during a science lesson.
Ooh, yeah.
That's a pretty direct message, isn't it? Punishment for being curious.
Yeah.
It definitely teaches you a lesson, just maybe the wrong one.
It absolutely is the wrong lesson, and it's a powerful, sadly common example of how curiosity can be actively discouraged, subtly, or sometimes, like in your case, very overtly. Workplaces, too, frequently reinforce conformity. Often, questioning the status quo or challenging how things are done is seen as disruptive, not innovative.
Right, don't rock the boat.
Exactly. So over time, that inherent, vibrant curiosity often gets replaced by a kind of perceived certainty, or at least the illusion of it. We stop asking why, and we start accepting that's just how things are done, or that's the protocol.
And the numbers on this are pretty stark, aren't they? Didn't NASA do some kind of creativity test back in the day that showed this?
They did indeed. George Land's 1960s NASA creativity test. It was originally designed to find highly innovative engineers and scientists for the space program, but it revealed something truly startling about how society impacts our innate curiosity and creativity over time. The results were, well, astounding. 98% of 5-year-olds tested scored in the highly creative range. 98%.
Wow.
But by age 10, that figure plummeted to just 30%.
30, that's a huge drop.
Huge. And by adulthood, brace yourself, a mere 2% retained that high level of creativity.
2%. That's stunning. Almost tragic. It really hammers home how much society can inadvertently drain that innate curiosity right out of us. It feels like a kind of collective self-sabotage, doesn't it?
It's a powerful illustration, for sure, and yes, it highlights a profound societal challenge. We tend to prioritize conformity, efficiency, maybe predictability over the very qualities that actually drive innovation and progress. But, and this is critical, here's the good news that Land himself really emphasized. Curiosity isn't lost forever. If it was, in essence, trained out of us by our environments, the strong implication is that it can also be trained back in.
Okay, that's a relief.
Right. This gives us significant hope. It's something we'll definitely dig into later. It's not a permanent condition. It's more like a muscle that can be re-exercised, retrained, and strengthened throughout our lives.
So we're not doomed to be incurious adults, just accepting the status quo.
Yeah.
There's a path back.
Good.
Right. So we've established what curiosity is, these different types, and how it can kind of get suppressed as we grow up. Now, let's bring technology, especially the internet, back into the picture. On one hand, it feels like the ultimate curiosity multiplier, doesn't it? You can Google literally anything you want.
In many profound ways, it absolutely is, yeah. The internet truly puts vast data at our fingertips on a scale that was just unimaginable a few decades ago. And for a lot of people, far from stifling curiosity, they find it's profoundly enhanced by the infinite possibilities of information available. Got a question? An answer, or at least a starting point, is often just seconds away. It empowers immediate inquiry.
And it's not just about searching for facts or reading articles anymore, is it? We're talking about whole new ways to experience things, explore places, like immersive virtual environments.
Exactly. Digital spaces are incredibly influential in shaping our learning behaviors now. There's research, for instance, using something called the Curiosity in Virtual Environment CVE model. It highlights how specific factors within these digital spaces, things like the goal content, what you're trying to achieve or explore, and the epistemic emotion it evokes, that sense of wonder or maybe intellectual urgency. These factors really shape our behaviors and our attention. These environments can be meticulously designed to guide us into incredibly immersive, deep exploration.
Like those virtual field trips or the 360-degree videos where you can visit distant places. My kids have done those virtual tours of the Colosseum or the surface of the moon. They're absolutely mesmerized.
They are indeed powerful tools. Virtual field trips, VFTs, and VR 360-degree content can significantly boost engagement, motivation, even subject knowledge. They allow this immersive exploration of locations that would otherwise be completely inaccessible, or maybe too dangerous or just too expensive to visit in person. Imagine doing a virtual dissection in biology class, or walking through ancient Rome as it actually was 2,000 years ago, instead of just looking at pictures in a book. This kind of experiential learning really engages that innate interest curiosity we talked about.
That's incredible for stimulating deeper learning, yeah, going beyond just passive consumption. And it's not just passive viewing either, right? What about truly interactive tools that actually prompt inquiry?
Absolutely. Tablet-based interactive learning, especially when it's combined with real-time feedback tools. There's one called Ink Survey, for example. These can be incredibly powerful curiosity triggers. In subjects as complex as physics, for instance, these tools don't just deliver information. They might prompt students to draw something or annotate a diagram. Then they immediately show them the implications of their actions. This leads them to ask those open-ended what ifs and why did that happen questions. It pushes them beyond just finding a single answer to really inquiring into the underlying principles.
And AI, of course, is weaving its way into everything. How are AI and these conversational agents playing a role in fostering curiosity-driven learning?
AI is increasingly being designed specifically for that purpose.
Yeah.
To foster curiosity-driven learning, there was one groundbreaking study that showed students generated significantly more questions, and higher quality questions too, when they were prompted by a dedicated curiosity agent, basically an AI designed to stimulate inquiry.
So the AI asks them questions.
Exactly. Or prompts them in ways that encourage deeper thought. And this led to longer, more sustained exploration of the learning material. And critically, stronger learning outcomes. It's kind of like having an intelligent tutor that knows exactly how to prod your brain in the right direction. Not by just giving you answers, but by helping you formulate better questions yourself. The AI might ask, what are 3 alternative ways to approach this problem? Or what assumptions are you making here, and what if those were different?
Okay, that all sounds incredibly positive. Like technology is the ultimate tool for a curious mind, a real intellectual amplifier. But you called it a double-edged sword earlier. So what's the darker side? Where does this endless stream of information potentially curtail genuine curiosity?
Well, yeah, here's where the paradox really hits home. The modern tech ecosystem, think constant notifications, tempting clickbait, algorithmically curated feeds, it can paradoxically preempt genuine, self-driven questioning. Instead of sitting with a complex problem, letting it kind of marinate, formulating your own questions, it's often just easier for users, and maybe especially students, to prefer those quick hits of information, instant gratification. And this can short-circuit the deeper inquiry process that really fosters enduring curiosity.
I definitely feel that pull myself. Why dig through a dense textbook chapter when Google gives you a bullet point answer in 2 seconds? Or a TikTok video gives you a 60-second summary?
But you mentioned losing tactile curiosity, too. What does that mean here?
It's an interesting and slightly concerning observation researchers have made. People are often seen to skip hands-on exploration now. They just favor looking things up online instead. So instead of physically taking something apart to see how it works,
Like an old radio or something. Yeah. Or experimenting with ingredients in the kitchen without a precise recipe, or trying to repair a broken appliance yourself. We just search for a how-to video or the definitive answer online immediately. This means we might be losing that crucial tactile engagement with the physical world, that kinesthetic way of learning through direct, messy, interactive experience. The brain learns differently when it's physically manipulating objects, and that avenue of curiosity might be diminishing a bit.
that's a really important point. You can read 1,000 articles about how a bird flies, but it's fundamentally different from actually watching one closely or building a model plane that works. And then there's just the sheer volume of information. Can that actually be bad for curiosity? Seems weird.
Paradoxically, yes, it can. In this information-abundant era, the sheer volume of choices can become incredibly overwhelming. So instead of fueling curiosity, it can actually paralyze it. When you have too many options, an endless scroll of articles, videos, opinions, you might end up exploring none of them deeply. It's the classic paradox of choice, but applied to knowledge seeking. More choices, ironically, can lead to less profound selection. You just get overwhelmed, maybe give up, or just bounce superficially from one thing to the next without ever going deep.
So it's not just distraction, but also this overwhelming feeling, this
Yeah.
intellectual paralysis. And then you mentioned manufactured curiosity. This sounds a bit I don't know, manipulative.
It can be, yeah. And it's something we really need to be aware of. The blinking, streaming, always-on digital landscape is constantly bombarding us with messages, push notifications, algorithm-driven suggestions. These are, in a way, passive attacks on our attention. They continually interrupt any opportunity for genuine reflection, deep thought, or self-directed inquiry. Our cognitive load is just perpetually high.
So it's not our internal, genuine curiosity driving us to explore necessarily, but rather the technology itself trying to trigger a response, often for its own engagement metrics.
Precisely. Technology is often meticulously designed for maximum engagement. That's the business model, right? It uses gamification, persistent notifications, compelling click-throughs, a little dopamine hit of likes, endless suggested videos. All these techniques create these artificial pathways that can, maybe unwittingly, replace genuine curiosity. You think you're exploring freely, but you're often just following a carefully laid trail that serves the platform's agenda, keeping you clicking, keeping you watching. And this can make traditional, maybe slower, more deliberate research and study seem stodgy, staid, or irrelevant by comparison. It risks reducing curiosity to just intermittent engagement rather than a sustained, internal, self-driven quest for real knowledge.
Wow. This brings us to a really critical, almost existential point about how we consume information now, the illusion of knowledge. What happens when we start to equate access with possession?
This is perhaps one of the most insidious threats technology poses to our genuine curiosity. It's subtle, but powerful. If curiosity is fundamentally the desire to learn what is unknown, what happens when people mistakenly believe they can just Google at any time? That instant access somehow equals instant understanding. It leads to this really dangerous cognitive state where they don't know what they don't know.
Okay, unpack that.
Don't know what they don't know. They gain this superficial sense of knowing because the answer is always theoretically available, just a search away, even if they haven't actually processed it or understood it or internalized it. This creates a terrible illusion of knowledge. The ability to retrieve information gets confused with actually understanding it, possessing it, integrating it into your own thinking. You're left with maybe a thin veneer of facts, easily retrieved, but no deep comprehension, no real synthesis.
That's a genuinely scary thought. If you think you know everything because you can look it up in seconds, why bother asking the deeper questions, the ones that lead to genuine insight, real innovation? It's a huge blind spot. How does this tie into the information gap theory? I thought that theory was supposed to spark curiosity, not kill it.
It does, normally.
Yeah.
And technology complicates it significantly. Neurologically, the information gap theory, proposed by George Lowenstein, suggests there's a kind of sweet spot for curiosity. He found that the desired level of knowledge increases sharply with a small increase in knowledge, so that the gap between this desired level and the actual knowledge grows. Basically, learning a little bit should make you want to learn even more. It's like a tantalizing teaser.
Right. Creates an itch.
Exactly. Conversely, once you feel sufficiently knowledgeable about a topic, the desire for new information tends to decrease. Your brain feels kind of satisfied.
Okay, so a little info should spark more curiosity, leading to deeper dives. But you're saying technology somehow breaks this natural cycle.
It fundamentally complicates it, yeah. From a sociological perspective, technology and social media platforms create like 1,000 potential communities. We're constantly bombarded with the apparent expertise of others, their curated feeds, their well-informed opinions. This makes our internal measurement of wisdom feel frantic and nearly impossible. We're constantly comparing our knowledge against this ever-shifting, potentially infinite set of peers online.
So we never feel sufficiently knowledgeable.
Pretty much. It perpetually off-balances the information gap theory. You never quite feel you know enough because there's always someone out there seemingly knowing more or posting about it. But at the same time, the sheer paralyzing volume of information makes it incredibly hard to identify the precise gap you even need to fill, or even where to begin to achieve true depth. This endless, often vague seeking ultimately stifles enduring curiosity. It traps us in this state of perpetually wanting to know more, but without a clear, satisfying path to achieve genuine understanding.
Okay, so we've talked about the internal shifts, the psychological stuff, and how the digital world can be a minefield for our attention and real inquiry. But outside our screens, technology is also profoundly reshaping how we explore the physical world, isn't it? Extending our senses, our reach, into places never before possible. Let's talk about how it's completely redefining remote scientific exploration.
Absolutely. And space exploration is maybe the most visible, awe-inspiring example. Technology has completely transformed it, enabling just unprecedented remote scientific discovery. We're not just sending human explorers anymore, we're sending their advanced extensions, robots capable of independent thought, in a way.
Like the Mars rovers, right?
Yeah.
Curiosity and Opportunity, they're iconic.
Exactly. NASA's Curiosity and Opportunity rovers aren't just fancy remote-controlled cars. They're aided by advanced AI software, like AGS, that stands for Autonomous Exploration for Gathering Increased Science. This software allows them to actually autonomously identify scientifically interesting rocks or soil samples, then pick them up and analyze them right there on Mars.
Without waiting for instructions from Earth.
Correct. This significantly reduces what's called editorial lag, that agonizingly long time it takes for commands to travel millions of miles between Earth and Mars and back. Can be minutes, even hours, by allowing the robot to make immediate, intelligent, on-the-spot decisions about what looks interesting. It drastically boosts the scientific output. It effectively gives the robot its own curious eye, you could say.
That's incredible. So robots are essentially being infused with a form of mechanical curiosity, making their own scientific judgments millions of miles away.
Indeed, and it's only going to get more sophisticated. Future systems, like one called TextureCam, are being developed with the specific aim to autonomously discern and prioritize scientifically interesting features on distant worlds, almost mimicking a human geologist's intuition about what's worth a closer look. It's about building mechanical curiosity right into the robots themselves, allowing them to make increasingly complex, intelligent decisions about what to investigate next, far from constant human handholding. And there's telerobotics, too, a powerful blend where astronauts, maybe from orbit or the space station, or even scientists on Earth, can remotely control robots on a planetary surface. It's this powerful fusion. Human-led curiosity providing the direction, robotic precision providing the execution. It extends our senses across vast, otherwise unreachable distances.
That really expands our physical reach beyond anything imaginable even a generation ago. And it's not just space, is it? We see this kind of telepresence transforming exploration in our oceans and on land, too.
That's correct. Telepresence tech is fundamentally redefining exploration in Earth's most extreme environments as well. Consider the work of oceanographer Melissa Omand. Back in 2015, she led a deep-sea expedition, but not from the ship itself. She was remote, in a control room thousands of miles away. This broadens scientific access and participation. More scientists can be there without the immense logistical and physical challenges of getting everyone onto a research vessel in the middle of the ocean. Similarly, advanced telerobots now operate routinely in dangerous or remote land environments, exploring the crushing depths around the Titanic wreck, for example, or navigating and helping clean up radioactive sites, assessing disaster zones too perilous for humans. It lets us extend our reach in places that are simply too hazardous or inaccessible for direct human presence, all driven by that fundamental human curiosity.
That's a monumental shift in how we gather data, how we explore, but it also seems like technology is empowering regular people now, too, allowing them to contribute directly to scientific discovery through what's called citizen science.
This is a truly exciting and really democratic development. Yeah. Technology has democratized discovery. It empowers millions of individuals, just everyday citizens, to contribute directly to real scientific research projects. Platforms like ShipStarter, for example, host thousands of different initiatives, everything from tracking bird migrations to classifying distant galaxies online. They have millions of participants globally now, and this creates what economists call in-kind contributions worth billions annually. It essentially augments the professional scientific workforce with this massive, distributed network of curious individuals.
So people are actually collecting real data, asking questions, helping identify species, analyzing telescope images, all from their homes, using their phones or computers.
Precisely. Through intuitive apps, accessible web portals, citizens gather crucial data points. They ask insightful questions based on what they see. They engage meaningfully with scientific problems. It effectively blurs the lines between amateur enthusiast and professional explorer. It taps into that innate human curiosity on a truly massive scale, leveraging collective intelligence and diverse perspectives for scientific advancement. You know, a curious hiker can become a data collector for climate change research. A night owl interested in stars can contribute to astronomy.
That's fantastic. Now, this leads us naturally to a grand debate that always comes up when we talk about these huge scientific endeavors, especially space exploration. The big question, is it truly worth the immense cost?
It's a very valid, often passionate, and definitely ongoing debate. Divides public opinion sharply sometimes. Globally, the annual budget for space agencies is estimated at a staggering $41.8 billion. NASA alone accounts for about $19.3 billion of that. And the core question for many people is this huge investment justified when we have so many urgent, pressing problems right here on Earth? Climate change, poverty, disease.
Right. Let's break down the arguments for space exploration first. What are the key pros? Beyond just satisfying our inherent curiosity, which we've established is important.
Well, the primary argument is usually the sheer knowledge generation it enables, pure discovery. We're discovering things that fundamentally help us understand the universe, how planets form, the composition of comets, the life cycle of stars, the potential for life elsewhere. This deep cosmic understanding could, potentially, lead to solutions for future civilization problems. Things like overpopulation, resource scarcity on Earth, or even the long-term imperative to maybe colonize other planets someday. There's also the powerful argument that exploration and discovery are inherently beneficial to the human spirit. It's just fundamental to who we are.
It satisfies that deep drive.
Exactly. It satisfies our profound sense of curiosity, our drive to seek new opportunities. Much like the age of discoveries in human history, think Columbus, Magellan led to immense wealth, power, and knowledge expansion for nations, even with all the complexities and downsides of that era. Pioneers driven by curiosity contributed heavily to scientific discovery and global understanding.
Okay, so it's about our fundamental nature, but also practical benefits. Are there significant scientific byproducts from space research? Stuff that directly affects our daily lives, even if we're not planning a trip to Mars.
Absolutely. This is a hugely compelling argument for proponents. Space exploration programs drive cutting-edge technological development across the board, and a lot of the research done for space travel finds direct, often unexpected applications elsewhere. For instance, NASA research contributed to developing things we use every day, like Velcro.
Velcro.
Yep. And incredibly strong yet lightweight fire-resistant materials used by firefighters, advanced medical devices for muscle and joint pain relief, new precise thermometers that were crucial during the pandemic, improved artificial limbs, highly efficient air conditioning systems, even technologies used in landmine removal, and longer-lasting, safer radial tires for cars.
Wow, that's an impressively diverse list. Things that impact millions of lives daily. And some argue it's even about humanity's long-term survival, like the backup plan idea.
Yes, the argument that the space race may ultimately save humanity, it's an existential one. Life on Earth faces numerous potential threats, right? Catastrophic climate change, pervasive pollution, dwindling resources, maybe pandemics, nuclear war. Space exploration is seen by some as a necessary long-term strategy. Finding another planet where humans could potentially establish a viable future. It's about developing the fundamental technologies and understanding required to adapt human life to off-world environments, ensuring the continuation of our species. Plus, don't forget the economic argument. The space industry itself is a significant driver of high-tech jobs. Directly employs around 120,000 people in OECD countries, 250,000 in Russia.
Okay, that covers the compelling arguments for it. But what about the other side? Why do people strongly argue against such massive investments in space?
Well, the main counter-argument often centers on few direct benefits compared to the immense costs. Unlike historical exploration on Earth, which often brought back tangible resources, gold, spices, timber, bringing resources back from space, isn't currently feasible or economical. So critics argue that the direct intellectual gains from learning about faraway planets, while interesting, can hardly compensate for the vast expenditures when Earth faces so many immediate critical problems.
And it's inherently incredibly dangerous and prone to really expensive failures, isn't it?
It is. Space travel is hazardous. That's an understatement. Many brave astronauts have lost their lives in past missions, and human missions remain incredibly dangerous. And then there's the frustratingly high failure rate for unmanned missions, too. Probes crash, satellites fail, robots get lost, rockets blow up, often due to tiny malfunctions. It's immensely frustrating for taxpayers, understandably, to see so much money and time seemingly vaporize in unsuccessful missions.
There's also the more speculative concern, but still ethically significant, about, well, aliens.
Yes, the danger of establishing contact with alien life is a serious consideration for some. It's a double-edged sword itself. While finding life beyond Earth is a major long-term goal, critics argue this could be profoundly dangerous, potentially jeopardizing human life as we know it. If we signal our existence to technologically advanced civilizations, Maybe we inadvertently expose ourselves to hostile attacks or invasion, the dark forest hypothesis.
Right. Or even just microbes.
Exactly. Conversely, contact with even primitive alien life forms, perhaps microscopic viruses or bacteria we bring back or encounter there, could pose an unprecedented risk, potentially causing devastating epidemics on Earth for which we have absolutely no immunity.
Yikes.
Okay.
And it could create new international tensions right here on Earth, couldn't it?
Absolutely. The space race is not over. In fact, it's heating up again. There's growing international competition among nations and now even among private companies for dominance in space. Issues of sovereignty over the moon, Mars, asteroids, their potential resources, these could become highly controversial, potentially tipping global power balances and creating new geopolitical flashpoints. It's a very real concern.
So for many critics, it ultimately boils down to opportunity costs. Simply put, the massive sums of money and immense brain power could be better spent tackling urgent problems right here.
Exactly. That's often the bottom line for critics. Even acknowledging the spin-off technologies and the long-term potential, spending so much money and intellectual capital on reaching other planets is profoundly questioned when urgent earthly problems, global warming, poverty, crime, finding cures for cancer or Alzheimer's need immediate, concentrated attention and resources. For many, it's about prioritizing global challenges and directing resources where they can have the most direct, immediate positive impact on human well-being now.
And finally, just touching on this, there's the question of funding models now. Should we rely mainly on private investors, companies like Elon Musk's SpaceX, Jeff Bezos's Blue Origin, or does public government funding still need to lead?
That's a crucial and rapidly evolving point. The rise of these private players has certainly brought renewed energy, media attention, and a commercial drive to space exploration. It raises fundamental questions about whether capitalistic incentives will increasingly lead the way. That could potentially accelerate innovation, but it might also shape the objectives, the ethics, the accessibility of space exploration in new ways. How does that compare to continued reliance on public funding, which traditionally prioritizes broader scientific discovery and societal benefits? It's a fundamental shift in the landscape, and the implications are still unfolding.
All right, so we've navigated the complexities of technology's impact, that double-edged sword on both our internal curiosity and our external exploration. Now let's pivot to the crucial question. How can we intentionally cultivate and nurture curiosity in ourselves, in our kids, in our organizations, especially with the strategic help of technology? Let's start with education. How is EdTech being used to actually nurture curiosity in classrooms today?
Educational technology offers some really powerful avenues for this, yeah. Take something called Computer-Supported Collaborative Learning, or CSCL. This approach consciously designs online environments where learners actively build knowledge together. They collaboratively ask questions, share insights, solve problems as a group. This promotes joint inquiry and encourages much deeper, more sustained questioning than individual learning often does. Imagine a group of students from different countries, maybe, collaborating on a virtual ecosystem project, each bringing unique observations and questions to that shared digital space.
That makes sense. A kind of collective curiosity driving a shared discovery.
Yeah.
Very cool. And what about augmented reality, AR, and virtual reality, VR, in schools? Are they really stimulating engagement, or are they sometimes just flashy distractions?
They are proving to be genuinely transformative when used well. Yeah. Educators are increasingly using VR field trips and AR-enhanced learning to significantly stimulate curiosity and engagement. Virtual lab tours, for example, allow students to conduct complex experiments without the cost or the physical danger of real equipment. Virtual museum visits dramatically increase engagement by letting students interact with artifacts in 3D. And critically, they expose students to careers, environments, perspectives that would otherwise be completely inaccessible. It breaks down physical and economic barriers to curiosity. It really makes learning an immersive adventure rather than just passively absorbing facts. Think of a student virtually dissecting a frog with AR, seeing anatomical layers appear as if they were real instead of just looking at a flat diagram in a textbook.
I've heard some people experience a bit of cyber sickness from VR, though, like motion sickness. Is that a barrier? Does it get in the way?
It's an interesting trade-off, actually, and one that research has looked into. Recent VR studies highlight something fascinating. Users may willingly endure physical discomfort, like cyber sickness, simply for the chance to explore novel virtual environments.
Really? They'll put up with feeling nauseous just to see something new.
Apparently so. It suggests that curiosity can be such a powerful intrinsic motivator that it actively overpowers physical discomfort. The sheer urge to discover, to experience new things, can literally outweigh feelings of nausea or unease. which is a pretty powerful testament to our innate drive for knowledge, isn't it?
That's a remarkable testament to curiosity itself.
Oh.
Beyond the traditional classroom, what about digital literacy training, especially for maybe more vulnerable groups?
Mm.
Is technology helping them stay curious and engaged with learning?
Yes, very much so. And the findings from these programs are quite heartwarming, actually. Studies on digital literacy training for, say, older adults or low-income children or individuals with hearing impairments, they revealed key curiosity triggers that really sustained their interest. Novelty, just encountering something new and exciting and surprise unexpected discoveries within the technology were crucial in sparking and then sustaining their engagement. It wasn't just about the necessity of learning the tech, it was about making the learning process itself inherently appealing.
So making the experience itself enjoyable, not just a necessary chore to get through.
Exactly. And the blend was key. Physical engagement with the devices, like the tactile experience of using a tablet for the first time, and epistemic curiosity, that desire for new knowledge just for its own sake. These were crucial drivers. What's more, the perceived utility of these digital tools was vital.
Perceived utility, meaning how useful they thought it was.
Precisely. How useful they believed the tools to be in their actual daily lives. This was vital for transforming that initial, maybe fleeting situational curiosity into sustained long-term interest. For example, providing low-income children with engaging digital comics on tablets didn't just teach them how to use the device, it showed them the immediate, enjoyable utility of the technology for entertainment, for storytelling, and that initial hook then sustained their engagement with learning other things on the tablet, broadening their digital world.
That's truly inspiring, seeing technology unlock curiosity across such diverse groups. Now let's shift gears. Moving from education to the often ruthless world of business, how vital is curiosity for companies? Not just to survive, but to really thrive and innovate.
For companies today, curiosity is not a luxury. It's pretty much an existential lifeline. Seriously. It's the engine that drives continuous exploration, organizational learning, and critical adaptability in fast-changing markets. It's what challenges the status quo internally, forces reevaluation of old assumptions, and uncovers new opportunities that others miss. Companies that lose their curiosity, that stop asking what if or why not, often find themselves unable to adapt. They fade into irrelevance, sometimes shockingly quickly.
Like Blockbuster, right? That's the classic example. Clinging to their old model of physical stores and late fees.
Precisely. Blockbuster is a textbook case of a company that lost its curiosity, or at least failed to act on it. They doubled down on DVDs, on late fees, on their physical store footprint. They failed to genuinely ask, what's next after DVDs? Or maybe, what truly solves the customer's underlying desire for convenient home entertainment? They didn't explore the nascent possibility of streaming seriously enough. They saw it as a niche threat, not the future. By the time they realized the digital shift was real and permanent, it was just far too late. You can draw parallels with other giants that stumbled due to a lack of proactive curiosity. Kodak clinging to film cameras as digital took over. BlackBerry failing to innovate beyond its keyboard in the smartphone era.
Right, so who are the companies that do manage to stay curious, that ask the right questions and thrive through these massive shifts?
NVIDIA is a prime example of relentless curiosity paying off massively. Jensen Huang, their CEO, famously lives by the philosophy, never stop asking questions and seeking answers. Curiosity fuels progress. Their whole origin story began with this deeply curious fundamental question. What if computers could process graphics more like the human brain processes vision, rather than just crunching numbers linearly?
And their first product, the NV1 chip, it flopped, didn't it?
Yeah.
But clearly they didn't give up on that core curiosity.
That's right. Their first product was maybe ahead of its time. It failed commercially, big setback. But instead of giving up or retreating, they kept asking those critical questions. What makes graphics truly great? What do game developers and designers actually need right now? This relentless inquiry fueled by that deprivation curiosity, right? That need to close the gap in understanding. It led them to create the world's first proper graphics processing unit, the GPU, the GeForce 256. It totally revolutionized gaming and computer graphics.
Okay, huge success there, but they didn't stop.
No. And then, in a truly remarkable act of corporate curiosity and strategic vision, Hong pivoted the entire company again. This was when researchers realized their GPUs, designed for parallel graphics processing, were actually perfectly suited for the massive parallel computations needed for AI training. He didn't just cling to their success in the gaming market, he proactively redirected NVIDIA, transforming it into the AI powerhouse it is today. That's curiosity driving complete reinvention multiple times.
That's astonishing adaptability.
Mhm.
What about Netflix? They started mailing DVDs. Seems like a lifetime ago.
Netflix is another fantastic case study. Proactive, almost uncomfortable corporate curiosity. Back in, say, 2006, their core business was still hugely profitable DVDs by mail. Streaming tech back then was clunky, slow, barely functional compared to a DVD. But Reed Hastings and his team asked a really challenging, potentially disruptive question internally. What happens if or when DVDs become obsolete? Ah. Instead of just clinging to their current cash cow, they had the curiosity and the courage to actively explore that unknown, potentially threatening future.
And that profound what if led them to launch their streaming platform in 2007, even though it wasn't perfect yet. And yeah, fundamentally changed the entire entertainment industry forever.
Exactly. They recognized the looming disruption and leaned into it. Rather than resisting it, they experimented. The crucial lesson there is that curiosity doesn't just build companies, it keeps them alive and relevant. In fact, given the incredibly crowded streaming landscape now, the evolving nature of content consumption, Netflix is almost certainly asking itself, what's next? Again, right now. Driven by that same proactive, maybe slightly anxious curiosity.
So in the business world, and maybe beyond, it really boils down to the profound power of asking the right questions, not just any questions.
Indeed. As Albert Einstein wisely put it, the important thing is not to stop questioning. It's fundamental. Think about Steve Jobs and the development of the original iPod. He didn't just ask, how can we make a slightly better MP3 player? That's incremental thinking. Instead, he asked a far more profound, customer-centric question. What do people really want when they listen to music on the go? How can we make that whole experience effortless and delightful? That question, driven by deep user curiosity, led to the iconic breakthrough solution, 1,000 songs in your pocket. These end-goal-focused questions, they shift the focus from merely improving what already exists to imagining entirely new possibilities, breakthrough innovations. They challenge assumptions. They uncover opportunities others completely miss.
But it also sounds, as you said earlier, far easier to find answers than to ask the right questions.
Mhm.
So practically speaking, how do individuals or teams learn to ask better questions? Is it a skill you can develop?
Absolutely. It requires a fundamental shift in mindset, though, and crucially, a willingness to openly admit what you don't know. That can be hard. As the great Isaac Newton humbly put it, what we know is a drop. What we don't know is an ocean. That profound realization that the vast majority of knowledge remains undiscovered or unarticulated, that's the true starting point for genuine exploration and powerful questioning. Humility. Good questions don't just look for pre-existing answers in the drop. They seek clarity, they challenge deeply held assumptions, they open up entirely new avenues of thought into the ocean.
Okay, so instead of asking, how can we improve this product by 5%?
Right. A better question driven by curiosity might be, what fundamental problem are we really solving for the customer here, and how could we solve it so much better that it completely transforms their experience? Or, to challenge internal biases, maybe ask, what would someone with a completely different perspective, maybe from an entirely different industry or culture, see here that we're missing because we're too close to it?
Hmm.
These kinds of questions move you beyond tweaking existing knowledge into genuinely new territory.
It sounds like a continuous, maybe even uncomfortable process of self-assessment and intellectual humility. And it's clear that even the biggest giants can lose their way if they stop asking these kinds of challenging questions, right? Become complacent.
They absolutely can. It happens all the time. Mark Zuckerberg, for instance, recently suggested on Joe Rogan's podcast that Apple, once a groundbreaking innovator, seems to be maybe leveraging its past successes rather than driving new innovations now. Critics also point to policies like Apple's long-standing 30% app developer fee, arguing it might stifle creativity and limit exploration for smaller, independent developers. Whether you agree with those specific critiques or not, they reinforce the idea that innovation is cyclical. It requires continuous, aggressive curiosity to adapt to rapid technological shifts and constantly evolving markets. No company, however successful today, can afford to become complacent tomorrow.
Okay, so given all this, the potential pitfalls, the huge opportunities, the need for the right questions, what are the concrete strategies for us, the listeners, for businesses, for educators? How do we consciously cultivate and maximize tech-driven curiosity in a world that can also be so incredibly distracting?
Okay, actionable stuff. First and foremost, I think we need to intentionally design curiosity-friendly tech, or at least demand it. This means advocating for and building tools and platforms that genuinely encourage deep inquiry, sustained focus, active knowledge construction, rather than just passive consumption or constant distraction. Think about apps that encourage journaling or mind mapping or collaborative problem solving, rather than just endless algorithm-driven scrolling. Second, we should be actively encouraging purposeful curiosity. Using technology in a directed way. Technology should empower and enable directed exploration, prompting users to ask specific questions, dive deeply into topics they choose, and actively document or synthesize what they learn, not just passively receiving information. Imagine, say, an AI tutor that nudges you to define your own learning goals for a session, rather than just guiding you rigidly through a preset curriculum.
So more active engagement, less mindless scrolling. Really being intentional about how we use these tools.
Precisely. And recognizing that the real magic happens at the intersection of human imagination and technological enablement, what we could call human-technology hybridization. Think about it. Those autonomous robots exploring Mars, they still need human curiosity and ingenuity to direct them initially, to interpret their complex findings, and critically, to formulate the next big questions based on the data they send back. Virtual reality encourages incredible exploration, but human guidance, reflection, discussion afterwards ensures that depth of understanding isn't lost. Citizen science perfectly pairs digital tools for data collection and analysis with real-world observation, but it's human curiosity that drives the citizen scientist to participate, to analyze patterns, to ask new questions. The synergy is key. Technology should amplify our innate drive, not replace it.
That sounds like a powerful framework. So to bring it down to really actionable steps for all us listening right now, what are some concrete strategies we can adopt starting today to foster our own curiosity in this tech-rich world?
Okay, concrete ways for you, the listener, and maybe for organizations too. 1. Seek and use open-ended tools. Actively look for apps, platforms, software that prompt you to ask questions, that encourage experimentation, that facilitate reflection, not just tools that give you answers. Think concept mapping tools, digital whiteboards, collaborative brainstorming platforms. 2. Actively customize your digital environments. Exercise your choice, your autonomy in your learning paths. Don't just passively accept what the algorithm feeds you. Curate your news feeds aggressively. Use read it later apps with intention. Maybe block distracting websites during focused work periods. Subscribe to newsletters or podcasts that actively challenge your thinking rather than just confirming your existing biases. 3. Blend modes of exploration and learning. Consciously combine different approaches. Mix VR experiences with AR insights. Use intelligent AI agents as thought partners, but then combine that with hands-on tasks or real-world observation for layered, richer curiosity experiences. For instance, after a VR historical tour, maybe go physically visit a local museum related to that period, or read a primary source document online. Engage different parts of your brain. 4. Actively promote a question culture. In your daily life, in your family, definitely in your workplace. Utilize conversational AI agents maybe as sounding boards. Engage in peer-to-peer learning or collaborative projects. Create environments where asking questions isn't just allowed, but actively valued, encouraged, maybe even rewarded. Make it safe to challenge assumptions by asking, why not? Or what if we approach this entirely differently? And 5, leverage remote participation and citizen science. Actively engage. Look for citizen science projects that genuinely interest you. Websites like SysStarter have thousands. Participate in virtual expeditions if you can, or even explore remote robotic exploration initiatives online. This allows your curiosity to be global, scalable. You can contribute meaningfully to real scientific discovery while broadening your own horizons and connecting with a community of fellow curious minds.
This sounds like a really conscious, proactive effort. Reclaiming, directing, and truly amplifying our curiosity in the digital age. It's about taking agency back, isn't it?
It absolutely is. It's about being intentional. Intentional about how we engage with this vast, powerful information landscape that technology has created, and ensuring it serves our deepest cognitive needs, our innate drive to understand. Hashtag outro.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, it seems pretty clear that technology hasn't simply killed our curiosity, as some might fear. Not exactly. Instead, it seems to have fundamentally redefined it. It offers both these incredible opportunities and some significant challenges we need to navigate. It's expanded our reach beyond imagination with immersive tech like VR and AR, enabled telepresence, amplified our learning with AI agents and collaboration platforms.
Yeah. The ongoing critical challenge, then, lies in finding that crucial balance. balancing our autonomy, our focus, against the constant demands on our attention. It really comes down to designing technology thoughtfully, using it thoughtfully, ensuring it serves to deepen our understanding and fuel genuine inquiry, rather than merely creating more walls of distraction or fostering that dangerous illusion of superficial knowledge we talked about.
Ultimately, curiosity remains our core, enduring human drive, that insatiable impulse to understand, to explore, to discover. It's still there. The profound responsibility truly lies with each of us now, doesn't it? To translate that impulse, that innate desire to know, into meaningful engagement. We need to ensure that technology becomes a powerful, wise tool that opens doors to deeper understanding, allowing us to ask truly profound questions, rather than just passively consuming whatever is effortlessly presented to us, whatever the algorithm decides we should see next.
Which leaves us with a final thought to maybe ponder. In a world where access to information feels limitless, almost overwhelming, what becomes truly worth understanding? Worth your time, your focus, your deep dive? And how will you consciously leverage technology to pursue those deepest questions, the ones that truly matter to you, rather than merely consuming what's readily, easily available?
Until next time, stay curious.